Hi, I'm David, and this video is going to be about the GT45 turbo I just bought. I just want to say one thing in the beginning. I'm brand new to turbos, and everything that I say or talk about is really just based on the research I've been doing for the past few months. So even though it sounds like I don't know much, well, I do have a plan on what to put it on and how to go about doing it. Even though it might not work, I'm going to do some kind of halfway experimental stuff, but we'll get to that later. Alright, so here's the turbo I bought. It's a GT45 turbo, and I chose this turbo because it's one of the cheapest ones and I thought it'd be a good way to get into it. But notice it's pretty big. It's really big. It's pretty heavy too, and I'll talk about that later on, why that matters. Whenever I finally chose to turbocharge something, I already knew it was going to be a small block Chevy because I know my way around those engines better than anything else. Okay, so the first thing that came up, do I do twin turbos or I do a single big one? And you know, at first glance you would think that, oh, a single turbo is way more easy and more simple. It's not. Okay, why did I choose this turbo? Some of this is going to sound silly maybe. What's funny about it is I think as soon as anybody buys their first turbo, as soon as it comes in the mail, they're going to realize they got the wrong one. And I'm not really saying that, like this can be used, I'm end up using it, but I actually don't think this was the right turbo. Okay, most of the GT45s, I think they're pretty much the same. I think there's a few different manufacturers. I don't know, it gets confusing. This one, the ad had max speeding rods, pictures on it and stuff, but then in the ad it also said the manufacturer was BFO, and whenever I got the turbo, it has no markings on it whatsoever except for that F, which I have no idea what that means. And then it has a 7U827, and I don't know. Oh, okay, I'm sorry. It does have some markings on it, but nothing really makes sense. And then it has this part number. That's fine. I could still put. I mean, it's still a turbo. It still seems like it's fine. I mean, it's a brand new turbo. The shaft's really tight. It spins easy, and you know, and all that. So I'm not going to condemn it or nothing, but it's kind of like I don't know what exactly it is, what brand it is. Okay, part of the reason I chose a twin scroll. Okay, one thing I wanted to point out about this is notice how it's divided. Whenever you hear the term twin scroll, that's what they're talking about. It literally has two different little, they call this the volute. It has, they're separate. There's two passages that separate all the way to a thing they call the tongue that's in there right where it actually hits the wheel. That's what a twin scroll is. You know, I didn't know that. I just read that it was a twin scroll, and I read that twin scrolls spool faster. Okay, fine. But in order to take advantage of that, that means that you can't just pipe your exhaust straight into it. You have to separate it. So I guess on V8 you just do one bank on this side and one bank on that side, and I'm not sure if that's exactly the right way to do it. They have four-cylinder guys that separate the different runners according to the firing order, and the whole purpose is that it's something about like the pulse or something, the pulse that comes from the exhaust not interfering with each other, and that's why they split it up a certain way. So basically what I'm saying is that in order to take advantage of the fact that it's a twin scroll, it needs to be separated properly, right? And if you do that, then you're going to have two wastegates. And that was one of the main reasons I didn't want to run twin turbos, because I said I don't want to buy two turbos and then buy two wastegates and buy two of everything. But yeah, it's no more. I don't think it's any more complicated to run twins than it is to run one. Even though I've never done this, it just appears that way. Okay, so at this point, I'm not sure if I'm going to separate them or not. Doesn't really matter. According to research on the internet, apparently people do it anyway. There's even that one eBay kit that comes with the GT45 turbo that's a twin scroll, and the exhaust manifold that it comes with, it doesn't really separate it. It just has one, I think, 3-inch pipe that goes to the T4 flange. So apparently it must work at least halfway decent, but I'm just pointing out that that's not taking advantage of the fact that it's a twin scroll if it's not separated. and probably separated properly because anyway. Well, to add to that, I found some expensive LS type engine headers that you use a stock header on one side and you use a special one on the other side, and they go through the trouble of actually separating each bank into each hole on the twin scroll. If they went through the trouble to do that and the headers are like $700, I would assume that it's for a reason, and it would probably be worth my while to do that. But I don't really care. I said I want to get this on here the cheapest way possible. One more thing about ordering a turbo off of eBay. All the stores are probably not the same, but this one came in this box that was inside this box with a little bit of padding. Honestly, I think that was not very good. You see a lot of videos how nowadays a lot of the shipping companies are being kind of careless with people's boxes. They're just kind of like dropping them and stuff. It's a real thing. Everything looks fine, but there is a ding right there. Probably they dropped it with that thin padding. You know what's really funny about turbos? Don't let anybody tell you it's an easy, cheap thing to put on. Absolutely not. I think I'm saving a lot of money because I plan on modifying my own carburetor for a blow-through carburetor, and I also plan on building my own hot side. And I think people are going to get a kick out of how I do it. I'm planning on flipping some stock old school manifolds. Most of them, it's almost a dead end, but I'm going to try that. If it doesn't work, who cares? I'll throw them in the scrap iron pile, and I'll probably buy some, or I don't know. It doesn't really matter. I think that's one of the biggest things people need to get over whenever they're trying to build something, or they want to put a turbo or supercharger, whatever they want to do, is well, this might sound pretty dumb, but I kind of feel like you just got to not be scared to mess something up. Don't be scared to build something that doesn't work. Just try it. If it burns your pistons up, well, try to take precautions not to do anything stupid or unsafe, but you know, if something goes south, just replace it, or be careful. Do calculated risks. Like, for example, I'm putting this, for my first go-around, I'm putting this on an engine that I do not care about. If I burn the pistons up in that motor, I am not even going to shed a tear. I'm not even going to care. I'm not going to lose any sleep over it. It doesn't really matter to me. It matters a little bit because then I got to fix it, but it's the most cheapest basic engine, and as soon as I figure out how to manage the boost and actually have a carburetor that doesn't go super lean or rich or blow gas out of it, or I don't even know what's going to happen. But as soon as I can manage everything on 5 pounds, then of course what I'm going to do is build another motor with forged stuff, a proper ring gap, and probably get either stock heads with stainless one-piece valves, or maybe get some aftermarket heads. I don't even know. It doesn't really matter. But build something that's a little bit more suitable for the turbo. But the first go-around is going to be basically the cheapest boat anchor you could come up with, and that's a 305 with the 2-barrel on it that has blow-bys, even worn out engine. Anyway, okay, I had brought up weight earlier. Why is weight important? This is 38 pounds or 36 pounds. Whenever you build a kit, to make it simple, you're just going to have 2 pipes coming up to this, to a flange, right? 2 probably 16 gauge pipes. And for this to bounce around on that, let's say they came off the manifolds and went about a foot or 2. It's going to break those pipes. It's going to have some kind of brace welded onto it or made for it, and you can't just hook that up to the chassis of the car. It has to be onto the engine, right? That can be kind of complicated. Of course, it can be done. Anything can be done, but that just kind of complicates it. I know for a fact that will break because I once upon a time had headers with Flowmaster bolted right to the back of it, short as possible, and I ran a truck like that for about 6 or 7 months, and the header actually cracked. I can't prove that it was because the muffler because I wasn't actually inside the pipe when it broke, so I don't really know what happened. But I can tell you this much: I replaced the headers and actually used some kind of universal rubber thing to hold the back of the muffler up. And then for the next 6 or 7 years, I had the truck with that engine in it. The headers never broke, and they were the same brand headers. So yeah, if you have a cramped space, if you have a cramped engine bay, maybe it's more likely that you have 2 smaller spaces versus 1 really big space. So twin turbos might actually be more simple. And if you have a twin scroll and you're going to try to separate them, you're going to have to buy 2 wastegates anyway. And just like I said, as soon as I bought it, I kind of realized that I think I bought the wrong turbo, or I'm going after the wrong setup. So if you want a turbo on a 350 or a 305, I'll bring up 350 because that's essentially what I'm going to be building. I'm just going to test it out on 305. But a V8 engine, they're still roughly the same size. So check this one out. This was the selling point, because in order for you to get a smaller turbo, I would imagine, I don't know everything, that your only other option is just to get a T3 flange. Or then again, they might have options for the V-band ones that are more expensive, but we're talking about the cheap eBay turbos. Your only other real option is a gt35. And check this out, I did some calculations. So I had a buddy of mine tell me don't put a gt35 on there because it's going to be too big of a restriction. I kind of halfway disagree, but I don't really know. But check this out. A T3 flange, this is a T4, but a T3 flange, the cross-sectional area is about the same as one 2.5 inch pipe, exhaust pipe, right? A T4 flange is about the same cross-sectional area as a 2 3/4 pipe or two 2-inch pipes. Okay? Okay, so what I was thinking is that everybody knows that, well, not everybody knows, but it's very common for a factory low horsepower V8, a 350 or a 305, to have like a Y pipe that goes in a 2.5 inch pipe. I think a lot of Camaros did that in the 80s. And even at that, a lot of the exhaust manifolds factory, the hole is either a 2 1/8 or 2 inch. They're pretty small. So what I was getting at is that if that's the same cross-sectional area as a 2.5 inch pipe, which we already know is kind of restricted for a stock 200 horsepower engine, and inside that turbo the passage is actually neck down a little bit, I could definitely see how that could become a restriction. Don't really know, that's just my speculation. So that's why I went ahead and went with the bigger turbo, the GT45 versus the GT35. And I still think I kind of got a turbo that's too big. But like I was saying, a T4 flange is basically the same size as two 2-inch pipes. So I'm going to run two 2-inch pipes off of the flip manifolds. I might change it to 2.5. I don't know. I might change it up a little bit, but it's roughly going to be 2 small pipes that go right into each side, and I'm going to separate it and just see what happens. It's all going to be experimental, but I'll make videos on it. And I only have one more thing to talk about, and then I'm in the video because I'm pretty much done. In case anybody doesn't know, this is called the cartridge, and this is the turbine. This is the compressor, right? This has to maintain straight up and straight down. Like one has an oil feed, one has an oil drain back. I'm not sure which one's which. One's bigger, one's smaller. I don't know. I'll get into that later. One thing that was holding me up on my project was I was trying to, in my mind, figure out how to build a hot side. I wasn't aware that you could clock this. I thought that you just had to work with that. I was pretty sure you could clock this side, but I didn't know that you could clock both sides. And you can. So, I don't know. I probably sound like a dumb newbie on this. And I kind of am, but I'm doing my research, and I'm actually going to put this on a car, so whatever. Hopefully it works a little bit. it most likely what it'll do is it'll probably pretty much redline by the time it gets in a boost. Anyway, that's it for this video. If you found this entertaining or informational, please like and subscribe. The end.